We're live. I was for those guys who were here earlier. I was trying to fix my thumbnail photo. The thumbnail photo came up sideways for some reason, so I had to go back onto my phone and make some adjustments, send it again, and then it was wrong again, and then try to send it again, and then it was finally right. But I'm back. I haven't seen you guys for a day or two now, and the reason that I haven't is because of the thumbnail. Two golden retriever puppies are new to the Holdner household, so we've been spending a lot of time, they're puppies. They're only going to be puppies for about 10 minutes, and then they're going to be dogs. And not that not that we dislike dogs. We have another golden retriever, and they are amazing, and they actually are part of the family, which is why we treat them like that. So, but the puppies take a lot more care because you've got to take them in and out, feed them all the time, all kinds of stuff. So they're not as self-sufficient as the older dog is, but he's helping look after them, which is awesome. But it has stopped me from getting other things done. But luckily, in my absence, the guys at the car farm have been getting stuff done. And I also got a text or an email from David VIZARD asking me for the shipping information for the VIZARD 2.2 turbo head. So hopefully that will go out. Hopefully I reached him in time. He sent it to an old phone, and so I responded to him. So hopefully that will go out. We'll be able to have that when we go down to WESTECH and do some testing. Also, the car farm guys are also sending out another G head like the VIZARD head, and then also a swirl head. So we'll have a few different ported heads to try. I kind of even would like to try bigger valve versions of those heads, and the Brian at the car farm might want to do that. It'll be interesting to see. I'm real curious to see what happens when we try I'm interested to see what happens when we try the swirl head versus the G head just in stock trim. And then interested to see what happens when we try the swirl head versus the G head in ported trim. And then interested to see what happens if we have a situation where we can equalize the static compression with those. And then also, even though I don't think that this will make any difference, obviously everyone's going to want to see it. I'm going to want to test it NA because whether I test it turbocharged or not, I will test it turbocharged because that's the way that they came, and everybody will want that information. But I want both. I want NA and turbo to see if there's any difference. And then I also I'd like to run it with the way that a cylinder head is going to help you is when you're trying to make lots of power. So if we put a ported cylinder head on a stock motor with stock boost levels, don't expect to see very much. It may help you make more power at a lower boost level, may help that a little bit. And so at the same boost level, maybe it's a little bit more. But where it really becomes beneficial is if we take the turbo off and put an NA header on there and put the right intake manifold on there and put the right camshaft on there. If we can do things to make the naturally aspirated motor better and make more power NA, then we will make more power at any given boost level, assuming that the turbo that we have is big enough to support this newfound power level. Because that's always the thing. If we have a stock turbo for the 2.2 and it's limited in its power production, porting the head and putting a bigger camshaft in it, like we have the guys from the car farm are sending one of the Mopar performance cams, and if we try different intake manifolds and camshafts and things like that, it's just not going to do very much if we're limiting it with turbo. Same, if we only want to run 7 pounds, we're limiting any kind of gains that we would get at that power level. Even if we turn that turbo all the way up, that turbo is ultimately going to be the limiting factor. So if you think about this in terms of LS or a small block Chevy or Dodge or Ford or whatever it is, if we have our stock motor that makes 300 horsepower and then we add 14.5 pounds, it makes 600. If we make it a 400 horsepower motor, mods, heads, cam, intake manifold, now that becomes an 800 horsepower. So the same thing happens at a much reduced level. If we have a 100 horsepower 2.2 NA motor and we add 14.7, it's going to make 200. But if we can get that up to 150, then now it's 300. And that's just at the same boost level. That's not even saying, okay, we've put a bigger turbo on it and we can run way more boost at a, it's still in its efficiency range. And a lot of guys get confused about that when we're talking about turbos. Oh, the bigger turbo is definitely going to make more power. Well, it has the ability to do that. But if the smaller turbo also has the ability to supply the desired combination of boost and power, because that's going to be a function of the NA power output. If the turbo has enough flow to support that and doesn't have astronomical back pressure, then it will do very well. And even if we put a bigger turbo on it, you might not get that great of gains unless you have a dramatic difference in one of two things has to happen. You have to have a dramatic difference in back pressure, which could help things, which is probably going to go along with a corresponding drop in boost response, but we kind of expect that going in. And also, if you can lower the charge temperature or somehow otherwise make the compressor wheel more efficient, and you would see this as a lower charge temperature more likely, then you can get a little bit more power, but not a lot. The big thing is primarily it's going to be dictated by the NA power output that you're starting with, and then the multiplier is boost, and then that's the resulting equation, and then you can get little gains from that depending on other things. So are we able to run the same timing? Do we have enough octane? Do we have good intercooling? Is the intercooling getting restrictive? There's a lot of little things that we can whittle away at and discuss, and they're all worth discussing. But again, the big picture thing is NA power output and boost, and obviously good things happening over here. So I'm excited about that because I'm excited about doing all the little, what I call the little testing at lower power levels and stuff on the 2.2 on this early one that I got. And then I'm excited about doing more stuff with the 2.5 because it'll have at least forged pistons and maybe forged rods. But it will be a better combination and then capable of more power, and we'll be able to utilize, if these heads flow a great deal more than the factory heads, we'll be able to utilize that. Because as we've seen in the tests on other applications, if we take a stock set of cylinder heads and put it on and then port them, or put an aftermarket set of heads on and we put them on a stock motor, you just don't really get very much. Even if it's a turbo motor, you just don't really get very much because the rest of the motor isn't there to take advantage of the additional head flow. And the turbo actually isn't helping that situation. If anything, if you have a stock head and a stock turbo, they're sized pretty well together. It's when you want to make a lot more power, especially if you are increasing displacement and increasing cam timing, putting a better intake manifold on it, changing the RPM where the thing makes power. All of those things can make a big difference. So I'm excited about that. I'm curious to see what David Vizard's head flows, and I want to get all of the information, so I make sure that I'm conveying all of the information accurately with that head when we test it. And I'm curious to see how it does. We have a few different camshafts to try. I'm trying to get a hold of as many of the factory cams, which should be fairly easy back-to-back testing. The thing that I'm worried about is on the, I think if I'm not wrong, and I'm going to probably have to go ahead and do some, I'm probably gonna have to degree these camshafts because I think that if you run it might be that I know that some of these motors have different cam sprockets on it. Some of them have round T sprockets, some of them have square T sprockets, and some of them are going to be degreed differently. Like their position on the camshaft is going to be different. So to get the proper position on the camshaft, if we change these over, so if we mix and match different cams with different gears, it may put the cam at a different starting position. We may have advanced the cam, we may have retarded the cam. And I think somebody sent me information on that. But the best way for me to understand it and so that I can verify it is going to be for me to degree the camshaft. I want to see where it is. And I also want to get an adjustable cam sprocket so that I can do something about it when I do it. I know that we can do, offset keys and that kind of thing, but it's a lot of work to make different size offset keys if I want to do 2 degrees, 4 degrees, 6 degrees, whatever. And if I want to do them in both directions. Having an adjustable cam sprocket would just make life easier so that I can make sure that I test the cams in the same stock position. And then in the other variations that we would want to test. Oh, well, maybe this roller cam want to be advanced? Does it want to be retarded? We'd test both. Same thing with a slider cam, advanced, retarded. We'd test both and find out what it does. And then maybe you find out kind of what we would expect maybe going in, but I know nothing about the camshaft or the cam timing, the valve events that are happening on the stock camshaft anyway. So don't know if they're already skewed to make this thing very responsive? I would think that they are, especially given the low compression and especially these early motors with log style manifolds, which are not ideal with no runner length and all that stuff. So there's lots of cool stuff. I don't look at this at all as any kind of deficit on the design of the motor. I look at that as an opportunity for me to find out about this stuff because I obviously don't know about it. And I haven't been able to find a lot of this information online. It may be there in that community. I just have not talked to the right guy. But I like the process of me figuring it out helps me to understand it better. If I go through the steps necessary to degree these camshafts, I learned more about this motor and go, oh, look, yeah, these cams are all retarded, or this cam's retarded, and this one's advanced, and this one's dead on, and these two are interchangeable, all of those things. Because I plan on running a few different stock cams and then some aftermarket cams too. And if I want to decide that I want to make lots of power, it's going to need something bigger than stock cams, obviously, some kind of aftermarket thing that's going to allow us to make a lot more NA power. And it's also going to have to not be a reverse split camshaft. I'm sorry, but that's not what I would run in there, not what I would recommend. So if I have a cam done, it's not going to be that. It's going to be something else, because I'm not going to be nearly as concerned with, maybe if I was interested in getting a big turbo and then also trying to improve the response and making all the power with the turbo, that might be something I would consider. It might be something that I would test and find out what it does. But I think for power, I would go the other direction. But then again, that's just me. Let's see. So we got to get a poll going, obviously, because it's Sunday night. Sunday. Okay, will the ported 2.2 liter head make 30 horsepower more than the stock head tested at 15 psi? I know that that's a really open-ended question, but just answer it. Just answer it and stop goofing off. 1 liter mafia's in the house. Who did I just had a conversation with somebody about Sprint turbo stuff? Because I try to work that into any conversation that I can. Oklahoma's in the house. Puppies, yes. Oh, I know. They're just like 17 different kinds of adorable. They slept in our bed last night, and as you might imagine, it was chaos. I know, Mark, I'm excited about seeing the dyno stuff. And we'll see different, like I said, NA stuff and turbo stuff, and then, big power stuff. We'll see all of that, hopefully. Let's see you drive something. You mean like all of these up here? Those? And that? I've done my share of driving. Most of it is not drag racing, though. Most of it's actually, I did lots of professional road racing and then lots of stuff at Bonneville, too. How was your break? Were you building your daily? Yeah, I did. I didn't fill it all the way up because I don't have full tank, gas money, but I had enough to put some gas in it, though. Yeah, there are Goldens. Obviously, the intake would be different and the pulley power loss of a ProCharger or Supercharger, but how does it compare to a turbo when prepping the NA setup? Are you talking, Brian, are you talking about the 2.2? I honestly wouldn't prep it any different. I'm not going to the nth degree on a dedicated race motor, but the way that I would look at the 2.2 is the same way that I would look at a 5-liter Ford or a small block Chevy, an LS, a big block, whatever, something in the range of not all of it, but to the high side of more of it. I don't think like for the 2.5 liter, let's say we tried to make 600 horsepower or 700 horsepower or something, some sort of big number for that. That's obviously not going to be the ideal daily driver combination. If I was picking that, I would pick something else, and I would make it I'd be for instance for the GLHS, it's going to have, or it already has, a stock 2.2 T2 motor in it, and it will be all stock, and then it will go through the certification, and that would be a good combination. If I wanted to make that more responsive, then there would be things that I would do to make it more responsive that wouldn't be to have it make 600. Like if you wanted to make it more responsive, you could adjust things like static compression. Instead of the turbo compression, you would do the NA compression, or even higher, depending on what octane you're running. If you're running 85, then you might as well run 9 or 10 to 1. You'd make it bigger. So instead of a 2.2, you make it a 2.5, because a 2.5 for any given turbo size is going to be more responsive. It's going to make more low speed power. Therefore, it's going to be more responsive. You could also look into doing something to the exhaust. I would like to see if a, small runner log style turbo manifold is more responsive than a tubular header is. We have some things that seem to help with low speed power, which is what I'm concerned with when I do this. And long tube headers tend to help with low speed power. Could we get these runners long enough to make that difference? And then also, but the negative side of that is the longer that you make them, the more heat energy that you're losing. So then would you ceramic coat them? Honestly, I would like to compare a tubular header kind of thing, like a Sidewinder kind of deal like they do on the K series, versus a stock exhaust manifold, to see if that did anything. The other way to improve a response, obviously on this early 84, is to put a long runner intake manifold on, put a one piece or a two piece on it, or something even longer than that, which I'm going to try. I'm going to try something both longer and shorter, and we'll see. It will demonstrate what happens when you do this, because it will definitely affect the low speed power response. Camshaft 2. I honestly don't know how you would do much better than the factory camshafts, but having not tested them, I don't know that. Maybe advancing it is a good way to go. Maybe the smallest factory cam is the way to go for more response. But again, that would be tailored towards something different than having a 600 horsepower deal that's amazingly responsive. A K series it'd be a lot easier to do with that, with two cam profiles and stuff. Happy Halloween. Blind guy, I have a combo question. Man, you didn't got to say that. Just throw that combo out there. Yo, Richard, man, what do you think about this? Smash the like button, live chat. I was going to get to live after I got down a little bit. Do you have to fly cut your pistons for BTR stage 1 cam? No, not like on a junkyard motor, no. Finally, real testing for the 2.2, 2.5. I sure hope so. Right now, it's a lot of talk. I got a LQ9 6-liter truck engine. The builder wants to consider making it a 6.2. Well, the advantages are that it's bigger. It has more displacement, which helps power. It has a bigger bore, which means you could put heads on it that flow more. The downside is GM didn't intend on that iron block being bored out to a 4065. So you need to check the thickness of the sleeves before you do that. A Great Dane puppy. No, we have the puppies that we need. The style of head that I gave David was a G head, an OG head. For break-in oil or for a flat tap, do you recommend a brand or additive to use? There's lots of good ones. The driven stuff is good. Just anything that has lots of zinc in it. And then we used a high zinc oil that we use an additive. And I'm saying this the last time that I ran a bunch of flat tap and stuff, and I didn't have any problems with it. This is what I did: high zinc oil, a zinc additive, and then on the camshaft, I used moly lube on all of the lobes and on the bottom of the lifters. and we broke it in with light springs and then changed the springs after the break-in period. Is head porting NA really only beneficial in raising RPM? No, take a look at all of the cylinder head tests that I have, whether you're looking at the LS stuff, the cathedral port stuff, the rec port stuff, the LS7 stuff, or any of the Ford stuff, or any of the big block Chevy stuff. The gains that you get are most pronounced at higher RPM, but you also get gains in the mid-range and stuff. It depends on how restrictive the heads. A good example is the factory E7TE iron Ford heads. You're going to gain power in lots of places if you put a good head on compared to those. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go over to how's our poll doing. 76% are saying yes, that it will make that much power. So I'm going to switch over to live chat. See how far I can scroll back. We'll see how many of these I lose. So if I've lost your comment. No, we haven't. It's not. And we're going. Lots of zinc. That's right. I poured on my head, so I got more NA power and turbo power. That's true. If you make more NA power to start out with at any given boost level, you should make more power. Is zinc additive as good as zinc break-in oil? We use both. Richard, great to see you. I don't think I'm getting all my notifications. Did you like, share, subscribe, ring the bell, and do all that stuff? Just poured a small K24, made a huge difference. What's a small K24? Blind guy, 5.3 LS truck, flat top 4.8 piston, stage 3 truck cam, ported heads, lightly springs. Have you done that combo? And if not, power predictions if you have a video. No, I won't have done that one. Do you have a do you have a truck intake manifold on it? I have run the stage 3 truck cam on a 5.3. So that's not hard to find. It just doesn't have flat top pistons on it. It just does not have the flat top pistons on it. Do you have the newer BTR versions or the older ones? So I'm looking at 430. Yeah, 432. And let's tell you what that one had. So that was an LM7, 706 heads. It had a Trailblazer SS, stage 3 truck cam, long tube headers on it. So depending on what intake you have, the Trailblazer SS may offset the flat top piston thing. Daniel, Puppies, yay. What does Milo think? Milo is the most awesome, like, big brother ever. He just gives them kisses all the time and follows them around and makes sure they're not getting into trouble. And he's great. Would an Eaton M90 with a 3.5-inch pulley be too much airflow for 1.8? No, it just depends on how much boost and power you want to make, and depends on what 1.8 it is. Customer brought a JDM 2.3. He bought in with a 2.2 head. Previous owner swapped head gaskets and put it on backwards. Oh, yeah, that's not good. What's good target compression for a pump gas 6-liter? We just run the stock. We run a stock motor from the wrecking yard. So if it's an LQ4, it's going to be lower compression than if it's an LQ9. And by pump gas, do you mean 91, 93, 87? Does it go for 4V Clevelands too? When I ran flat tappet cams on the Clevelands, yeah, I put, if that was your question, that's how we prep the cams and lifters. Apex, I'm looking to buy a Ranger with an Explorer all-wheel drive 5-liter frame swap sometime this week. What duration cam should I look for? An intake manifold for a snowplow setup? Is this a 5-liter Mustang that you have in there? Has anyone ever tried switching the intake and exhaust cams on an engine with multiple cams? There are some applications where you can run the exhaust cam. I thought that the Quad 4 was like that. Did somebody said the Quad 4 was like that? It's a third gen engine, likely ported heads. What would they say? Stage 1 heads, I guess. Ported heads will help. I think it's awesome that you're giving the 8 valves respect. I like those cars. I almost bought one new, but the universe was telling me not to get it. 87 octane turbo 5.3. That's what I want to see. What lifters do you recommend with a high lift cam? I don't know what you mean by high lift. And is this an LS or is it a big block Chevy, small block? Three-year-old camshaft. Yeah, the specs that I gave you were about right for that. Are training upgrades necessary? I think that they're a good idea on really high mileage motors. So Rob Reed is saying the Saturn twin cam motor, which I raced against the Saturn guys in World Challenge. Well, I didn't race against them. They were in a different class, but they had a guy that was doing a good cam program for them. $87 octane 5.3. That's what you want to see. I mean, that can be done. I think on an 87 octane, I probably would bring the static compression down. E85 does count as pump gas, and it's the best kind of pump gas. 5-liter Explorer motor. So the Explorer intake that you have on there and those heads that you have on the Explorer motor are already pretty good. Just put springs and a cam in it, and I wouldn't put a very big cam in. What is the RPM? What is the operating range for a snowplow? I don't have any idea. I haven't never even been behind the wheel of one. 1.8 liter from a Miata. An M90 is a pretty good size blower for a Miata. I think you're not gonna want to run that pulley on it. If you had a 1.8 liter Type R motor, you could get away with more. Bringing in a converter question, if you can, or anyone here can answer. Suggestions for a 2900 to 3900 stall converter. Does anybody have is it Circle D is where most people recommend for the converters for turbo LS applications? Safe power on 87 octane. I ran 87 octane to my Mustang a lot with a Vortec on it, but I didn't really go into boost very much. I haven't tested octane booster. We've used it on occasion, but I've not compared it to other stuff. Are you familiar with the 13B rotor? I've run a few rotaries on the chassis dyno. I'm by no means an expert, and I've never run them on an engine dyno. 1,500 to 4,000. Then I wouldn't pick anything other than the stock camshaft. And then I would just put gear in it, because that will certainly help you. Let's see how our poll is doing. Will the ported 2.2 head make 30 horsepower more than the stock head tested at 15 psi? So we'll get 30 horsepower. 74% are saying yes. Let's see if I can scroll back here. Now that we're on live feed, see how far I can go back. Somebody's asking if I was selling puppies. No, we just got puppies. let's see. Let's see. I don't think I'm not seeing anything that I missed as I'm scrolling back. What's the toughest engine you've ever dynoed? Well, I used to think it was that 4.8, the 4.8 LS motor, because we kept trying to turn more boost and more boost up to it, and it didn't. It just kept saying, "Okay, that's fine. That still works." And then we found out that lots of motors will do that, and so I don't know. Has the weather bothered you where you are? Yeah, we're getting lots and lots of rain, and I have a creek behind the house, so we're concerned about the creek rising up and causing problems. But yeah, I'm over the rain. It's time for it to stop. I mean, it's nice that California's been in a drought for 500 or 600 years, but we don't need to cure it overnight, though. Salty Monkey just joined. You're talking about new tech additions. Is this specifically to one engine or all other engines? No, no. My new addition were golden retriever puppies to the family, but we talk about lots of tech stuff here. That's generally what it is. I was just explaining to people why I wasn't on yesterday. I'm considering doing a crank trigger and coil near plug on a Mopar 360 LA. And the other thing is when you come here, please just don't use the word thoughts when you're asking a question, because that's not acceptable here. But I will answer your question because you're new. Don't waste your time doing that on an LA engine. You're not going to get, if it's a naturally aspirated motor, and even if you put heads on it and a camshaft and intake manifold and headers or whatever, you're not going to gain anything from putting multiple coils on it. That's not going to gain you anything. The way that you get power from an ignition system is by curing a misfire. And if there's no misfire present, which we've run distributor coil and ignition amplifiers way beyond 1,000 horsepower. So if you're not doing that, then there's really no need to do it. There's no reason to complicate it. The puppies are in the thumbnail. Although I can have, if I don't know if they're asleep right now, I can have Lisa bring them up. Had any experience with the Summit 408 Pro LS rotating assembly? I have not. I have one of their, I think it's a 383 assembly. It's not just a ported head, it's David VIZARD's ported head. Yes, it is. Adrian, your basement flooded? Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff going on. Would run 91 octane and use a wet shot of nitrous with race gas and a separate fuel system. Will it be a waste? No, the guys are doing that. I just don't know if that is enough of a preventative measure compared to running race gas all the time when you're running nitrous. If I was going to the track, I would just put good gas in it all the time. While you're driving around on the street, then that's something to consider, because you don't want to be driving around on race gas. It's just way too expensive. But that's certainly going to be better than pump gas, race gas would be better. I think race gas would be better. Will it? I don't think it will be. It will be. But that's not the question. We're not asking the right question. The question we need to ask is, can you get away with running pump gas and then just adding the race gas to the nitrous? Is that enough to stave off all like kinds of damaging detonation? Given what I've seen, the trouble that I've seen people get themselves into with nitrous, the answer to that is no. But if everything's right, I think it's probably yes. What's the maximum dynamic compression ratio you can run on pump 93? Obviously, with a 35 quench and 1178 static compression. There isn't a number that I can tell you that where those work. The problem is the dynamic compression isn't the only thing that tells you what the detonation threshold is. There's lots of other stuff that come into play there that have nothing to do with that. When it rains, it pours. It hasn't been lately. It's actually stopped for a while. It's not been too bad. I mean, it's just been raining on and off, but that's okay. I don't mind it raining because like I said, we need the rain. The problem is when you just get all the rain at once, it doesn't really help that much. It just all runs off and goes away. We need to have it soak in and then let it dry a little bit, and then let it soak in, and let it dry a little bit. There's no reason to have the rivers overflowing and the streets flooding and stuff. And for people in their houses and get displaced and stuff, it's just not a good deal. With nitrates, it's more important to get equal distribution to all cylinders. That is important because then you can not create individual cylinder problems. Hey, Karen, you want to see the puppies live? Yes, the puppies do have names. Brady and Bruno. What's your method of fixing a cam bearing that's too tight? It depends on how tight it is. If it's not terribly tight, I put the cam in there and spin it. Ever use aviation fuel? I have. I don't really like it very much, though. Let's see. Are they duck dogs? Golden retrievers can be. Labs are more common for that, but these are not hunting dogs, though. Can a stock bottom end 5.3 LS nitrous make the same power as a turbo? No, it can't. You can do 1500 with a turbo with turbos. You won't get anywhere near that with nitrous. Is ignition timing suggested to be different for different cam profiles? I haven't seen that. I was just going through my list of I'm working on and I'm putting time and effort into this. I'm going through a big test that I did. I'm going through all of the camshafts I've run on turbo motors. And when I go back and look at all the data on all of the motors, all of the LS motors I've run, cylinder heads make way bigger difference in the cam timing that something wants. We run the same timing curve on a stock cam as we do on an aftermarket cam, and that's where the power wants to be. So cam timing doesn't seem to have a big effect on ignition timing for optimum power. Do you answer suspension questions? I was gifted a 79 Corvette that needs work and I want to make it handle better. There's lots of stuff to do to that chassis. I mean, there's lots of things. There are there are springs and sway bar, all of your normal stuff, bushings. I like critters more than I like people. I'm the same way. Just adopted an Australian Shepherd, Blue Heeler, nice. More. There's more. A Boston Bull Terrier, cool. If it keeps raining, will your channel become a boat channel? I did post something because my son's name is Noah, so I posted videos of on Instagram or Facebook on the creek that's behind us because you could see a big tree floating by. I mean, a giant log. So much so that we were worried that this stuff would go down and lodge itself and make a beaver dam and flood everybody out. But my point was that my post was that my son, we may have to take advantage of his boat building skills. We got a dog for my birthday. She's a rescue dog. Nice. Yeah, Casey, that's a good point. Who installed the bearings? They have to go in the right bore. That's right. If they mix them up and they put them in the wrong order. Let's see. Do you ever get bored from doing LS all the time? You must be. I'm guessing you're new to the channel. They haven't looked at the other playlists for all the other motors that we run. When I say we, I mean me. Is 26 degrees at 900 RPM and 42 degrees at 4,000 RPM normal? If that's at wide open throttle, that's not normal at all. What is your take on oil additives? So let's narrow the question a little bit. What do you mean? Every oil that's offered by a manufacturer has an additives package in it. Every one of them. So additives obviously work if they're correctly done for the application that you're using for. Todd, what's going on, man? Yeah, the other guys' videos are cool. I'm excited about getting the all of them done. The slant 6, the trophy 4-cylinder, which is really weird. And I saw I think one of the people that I follow on social media was showing the 2-cylinder version. That was it Nikki Thompson or somebody did one, a 2-cylinder version of that, and they did a story on it. I have a tan pit bull named Chevy. He matches the interior of my 85 Chevy Suburban perfectly. Nice. Ice, you make me smarter. I don't know that that's the case, but we're all here to learn, right? Something like Z-Max. Oh, that kind of additive. I don't know if I've ever tested like an STP oil treatment or those kinds of things. I'm more of the mind that the best thing you could do is continually change your oil. Don't let it go 10 or 20 or 30,000 miles. You know, the better oil that you use, I think it's probably better for it. And the more often you change it, the better it is for it. I noticed that when you tested a stock heads on a 6-liter with 823 and 706 heads, that the horsepower usually stopped climbing at 6,000 RPM. Do you think that was due to the heads, the cam, or the intake? Yes, it was due to one or more of those things. Where a motor makes peak power is a function of the intake manifold design, the cam timing, and then the head flow. Probably in that order. But the intake manifold and the cam certainly, and then secondarily the head. Good news, not so good news. I bought the wire to contact my laptop to the truck. Hey, Todd, did you still want me to take your motor down to WESTECH? Is the 4.62 valve overhated or fairly hated? I don't hate any motor. So I'm a 4.62 valve. I'm a previous owner, and I wrote a book on modular Ford, so I've done lots and lots of testing with them. And the 4.62 valve is just like every other motor. You have lots and lots of owners of that motor. It makes a certain amount of power. There are ways that you can make more power with it, and guys want to make more power with it. It's just like every other motor. It's like an LS or a big buck Chevy or a slant 6 or a trophy 4-cylinder. They're all the same. They do something and people want them to do more, or I don't think anybody wants them to do less, but maybe better fuel mileage, maybe use less fuel. So not wide open throttle, just holding the throttle at 4,000 RPM. It hits 42 degrees and 26 degrees at 900 idle. I don't have a way to answer that because I don't know exactly what you're doing there, and I don't know where it is on the table, and I don't do drivability and idle stuff. So 42 degrees would not be a lot for light throttle cruise stuff at 4,000 RPM, although I don't know when you're ever going to be cruising at 4,000 RPM. Do you have any advice for someone looking to get into Bonneville? Yeah, become really, really familiar with, get the rule book, become very, very familiar with the rules. Go out there to Bonneville before you start getting involved to try to meet people and learn stuff from what they're doing and what the procedure is. But get very familiar with the classes and then figure out, don't build a car and take it to Bonneville and hope you do well. Look at the classes and go, okay, if I built a 2-liter motor and it is a blown modified sports or a blown gas comp coupe or a blown gas altered coupe or whatever class it is, can I do well? No, because there's been really heavy hitting professionals that came in and tried to do that and they went 1,000,000 miles an hour. But in the 1.5 class, that's a really soft record because that's 70 miles an hour slower than the 2-liter class is, because somebody didn't do that. So if you get familiar with that, you can improve your chance of doing well. So look at, and if you go through, I do that all the time. Go through the current rule book, and I can look at the rule book and I can tell you, even not knowing anything about the people that were there or anything, I can tell you what classes are pretty soft. Because if you look at a big difference, like if they go up, okay, this one's 20 miles an hour faster than this one, this one's 20 miles an hour, this one's 20 miles an hour, whatever, and one of them is 50 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour less than the one that's right above it. What's going on there? Why is it so low? Oh, because it's a 1-liter class, and it's really hard to make a 1-liter motor make that much power, or to put one together. So, it's cool to go through that stuff and find out like areas of opportunity. Is the LS the best platform for turbo power? No. Let's see. Are there any Y blocks left in the Southern California junkyards? I've never seen one. Would like me to see go all Kazi on one of those. Unfortunately, I can't do that because only Kazi can go all Kazi on one of those. He has both the means and the knowledge to do stuff like that, and I don't. That never would have occurred to me to do what he did to that. That's really cool. How do you feel about diesel engines? I've owned a couple of. I've owned one of those. I think I've only ever had one. And it was a Cummins turbo diesel in a big 3500 Ram dually, and I liked it. And we ran on the chassis dyno, but I've never run one on the engine dyno. Can you provide a ballpark figure as to how much it would cost to build an intercooler turbo system? I consider replacing my supercharger with a turbo. For what application is this? Turbos can be a couple $100. Intercoolers can be a couple $100. You could put together a turbo system for less than $1,000. I was able to get both fuel pumps on and running. So yes, please, you do want to. I thought you were still having problems with your motor, Todd. We'll get on a call maybe tomorrow and figure something out. Cody, can you see the bearing? Can you see where the cam is going into the bearing? Is it rolling the edges back? Does it just have one high spot that you can push past? I mean, it doesn't take very much to stop it. Does the camshaft have a nick in it? I mean, look at all of that stuff. Even if you have to take the cam out, look in there with a flashlight, whatever you have to do, see what you can see and see what's going on. If it's way too small, then they probably put the wrong one in. It's the wrong thickness. We will also take my Holley Terminator X. Yeah, we can do that. Your Buick is unbuilding itself. That's it. That's a neat trick. I just want to thank Little Richard. Am I a singer? For taking the time to talk to us. Dude, I come here to see you guys. Need to buy my dad an LS vehicle for daily things to look for other than low oil pressure and blow by. The transmissions are the things that I would worry about. Obviously, having had problems with the transmission in my truck, the motors seem to last forever. Mine has 320 something thousand miles on it. Getting ready to pull my short block out to replace the gaskets. Now that we changed the trans in mine, when the trans is out, I should have put a different motor in it, but it was several thousand miles away, so I wasn't able to do that. With the reason that you can run more timing under cruise is because there's no load on it and that you won't get into detonation. And the more efficient you can burn the motor, the better fuel mileage you'll get. The more complete burn you can have. Doesn't surprise me that this group is so caring about critters. Dogs, and I mean, everyone's got to have a shop dog, right? Every car guy. if you're a car guy, you should be a dog guy too, and not just dogs, animals too. Like for me, sharks and snakes and all that stuff. I guess I'm new to the channel because I just found out that you're a Ninja Warrior. Yes, that was a little while ago, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. Sergeant, I guess if they combine those, that would be the worst, right? Richard, what are your best thoughts about this? 500cc class. Yeah, that's hard to build motors that are 500 cc's. Donnie, 5.2 Predator block. 100 with a 10.5 pistons, Frankenstein ported GT500 head, stock GT500 cams, Gen 5 3-liter Whipple with high horsepower rotor, 150 millimeter throttle body, Cobra Jet lid, 2-inch primary. Should I port intake ports on the Whipple? No, what you should do is change your camshafts. The port matching on the head on the intake manifold is going to do this much for you. Cams will do this much for you. Stock cams with all that other like double wazoo high throwdown stuff, you should put cams in it. Stock GT500 cams are not very big. Richard, if need be, I have access to an 8,000 mile LS6 out of a Suburban. LS6, 6.2. Okay, I was going to say an LS6. I don't know what the 0.2 is, but I get you. Valley cover was leaking on an 06 Tahoe. Took the intake off. All but 4 bolts were finger tight. Yeah, that happens. Is there an 8.8 variation of the 8.1? Yes, it is. There is. There apparently also is an 8.0 big block too, which I didn't know about. Somebody sent me a picture of it. What do you think about the BTR Stage 1 NSR cam? It works good. 208, 209, 492, 107 LSA. That should be good. That's going to be a bigger version of the torque cam. Daniel, thank you very much. I'm just scrolling down there. I'm trying to get down there. Mouse killing shop lions. Is that the name of your tabby cat? A shop cat, yeah. If it's a Jaguar, so look at 4L80 vehicles. No, a 4L80 is going to be much better than a 4L60. And if you plan on putting power to it, it'd be good just to step up to that right from the beginning. I have a shop cat, but I have 4 dogs. Sometimes the cats are better for the shop of sneaking around and getting mice. They kind of go out at night and stuff. The dogs don't do that as much unless all they do is live in the shop. So cats are usually good for that. Richard, what year heads are compatible with a Motown 2 LS block? I don't know. I've never seen any sort of information on that. Cars, dogs, and shooting all go hand in hand. Ace Ventura, that's right. 2 Golden Labs on the orchard as a kid. Yeah, they're great. I mean, they're great with kids, and everybody loves them. Contact the tech inspectors, the SETA rulebook, and discuss what you want to do and what they like and what they don't like. Because your interpretation of the rules may not be their interpretation of the rules, and their interpretation of the rules. And that's another good point, Casey. Be very, very nice to the tech inspectors. Yes, sir. No, sir. It doesn't hurt to buy them a 5th of gin or whatever they like, a whiskey, whatever it is. Chocolate hearts or whatever it is. But be very, very nice to the tech guys. Have you seen the Bonneville lawnmower riding class? No, that would be cool. I've seen Cushman carts and motorized canoe and all sorts of weird stuff. But I haven't seen the lawnmowers. That would be cool. I'd like to see guys do bar stools. Recal, it's actually 2 golden pups. Because you got to get them in pairs, I'm told. Daniel, again, thank you very much. Raised and trade bird dogs all my life. Shot shotguns on a regular basis. Yep. What did you do with the 400M that I saw in one of the books? The 400M was gone long ago. That thing was probably built 10 years ago or more, probably. Money for puppy toys. We just spent $1 bajillion on puppy toys, and we had to put up the little we had to childproof stuff with the little perimeter gates and stuff. Getaway, thank you very much. Getaway performance. Get away from my stuff. My personal Bonneville goal is really just to see, for me, just to see if I can do it. I know what I would build, not what I'd be setting a record as far as the SCTA is concerned. Okay, if you just want to go out and run at Bonneville, you can do that. In fact, you can do that at where you don't have to go to either World Finals or Speed Week. There's actually a lesser known meet in between those. Not World Finals, not Speed Week. World of Speed, something like that. And it's a lot more low-keyed and a lot fewer people, and you get a lot more runs, and they even have streetcar classes. So it's kind of cool. Can you get a 632 Copo engine easily? Can I? No, I can't do that. I'm sure that those are big money. Yeah, Todd, we got 2 golden retriever puppies. Get a 1500 HD with a 6-liter and a 4L80. That would be. And then if you got does the 1500 HD come as a short bed 2-door? What's your opinion on the combustion engine ban? Who has a ban on combustion engines? The GT500 cams are small, and the 270 duration number is an advertised duration number. They're small. There's anything that you'd put in there. If you put those comp 262 cams in it, they would be bigger. They would make more power. Did I miss the 6-liter Cadillac supercharger final answer? What was the final resolve of what? I didn't. What do we do? We had belt slippage was the problem? G8 Justin, if you had a G8, what cam would you go with? The nice chop. So are you new to the channel too also? What I'll recommend for your cam is you need to go on the channel and look at all the 6-liter and 6.2 cam tests. You can also look at the 5.3 stuff because it's really all the same. You need to pick the power curve that you want, and then also go through your list of things that you have that you want from a camshaft. What you're going to want is different than what I want. So you may want to work with a stock converter. You may want to have chop. You may want it to have a good idle quality. You may want to get good fuel mileage. You may want to have good average power, peak power, average torque, good peak torque, whatever the things are that are on your list. Figure out what that is, and then there's a camshaft, actually probably lots and lots of camshafts that will satisfy that need. The cam that I would pick if I had a G8 is different than the cam that you would pick if you have a G8. I'm assuming that you have one. Because what I would like, my truck, I have a 02 Silverado, has a stock cam in it. And for me, there's not a better cam than that. And because my reasons are different than what a lot of people's reasons are. So it's up to you to pick the right camshaft. I can show you with this channel what lots of them do, at least at wide open throttle. It doesn't tell you how they drive around and stuff, but it gives you a fairly good idea on power curves. "15 years old and has always been one hell of a hunter. All black mini panther." Nice. 15. It's getting up there. That's cool. He's still out getting it done, man. Richard, you got to go see my channel where I'm riding a wheelie machine. That's like my kind of thing. So we're going to close our poll out because we have one more minute. Has anyone done snowballs on Assault? Those guys that drag race them are nuts. Oh, snowmobiles. Okay. Yeah, I've seen guys drag racing snowmobiles. That's pretty nuts. Yeah, anything that you run out there, that's another good point, is it is going to be subject to rusting. It's hard to get away from that. Blind guy, the 400 will always make more power than the 350. You would get more gee whizzes or views or wows or whatever if you combine a 400 with a 350 crank and de-stroke it. You just make more power if you just kept it at 400 though. Is it a run what you're bringing at Bonneville? No, it's not. There are specific classes for different categories of cars that have different kinds of external modifications on them, different ones for swaps, and primarily it's engine displacement related. So within those categories, you also have like a 1 liter class, a 2 liter, a 3 liter, 4 liter, 5 liter, etc. that go all the way up to this and above. So you can run whatever motor that you want in it in terms of displacement. And then they have NA classes and blown classes. They have gas classes and fuel classes where you can run nitrous and different kinds of race fuel and stuff. So it's broken down quite a bit. Getaway, thank you for pointing out that the Red Hot cam seems perfect for the LS3 size engine. Yeah, I think that's kind of what they made it for. I myself, being a little more conservative, would pick a hot rod cam, but the Red Hot cam does make a little bit more power. Why do they even list advertised duration? I don't know if it sounds bigger, but it's better if they have two of them. Milo really likes the new little ones. First thing he did was just walk right up and give them both kisses, and now he's just protecting them. How fast is the new Copo Camaro in the quarter? I don't know. Would a fast LSXR make a little more power on a stock 5.3? Not very much on a stock one. It should make more power than a truck manifold. I don't know how much more it would make than a Trailblazer S on a completely bone stock one that had all of the accessories on it and the factory tune and the airbox and stock exhaust and all that. I honestly don't know how much it would make on that application. Probably not a lot. It's just that the more modified the motor is, the greater the gains from that. I've seen snow machines at Sacramento Raceway. .400 with a 283 crank. Yeah, that would be even smaller. And on that note, it is time to go. See how fast time flies when you're having fun, man. I'm glad I got back. I will be back in the morning, so we'll get things going again. Watch Tim Allen's Copo Camaro on Jay Leno's blog, hence all the Copo talk more. Yeah, they're both like real, genuine car guys. I mean, they are nuts about cars, and they have the money to like play with them, which is very, very cool. So you can have all of these like super cool things that you've always wanted. I need a Copo Camaro. Oh yeah, and you know when him and Jay are talking, dude, I need a Copo Camaro. Yeah, you do. Why are we still here talking? You know that's exactly how it happens. And on that note, it is time to go. Thank you guys all for showing up. I will be back in the morning. Be safe out there.